Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to decode the hidden logic that drives some of our most critical decisions, whether we're talking business or politics. We're talking about game theory, the science of strategy.
So let's start with a question. You've definitely seen this play out in the real world. Two gas stations across the street, or a couple of rival airlines. They get stuck in this race to the bottom with their prices, and it just seems to crush profits for everybody involved. So why on earth do they do it?
Well, as kind of irrational as it might seem, there's actually a powerful logic at work here. It's a way of thinking that helps us uncover the hidden rules in everything from those price wars to major political standoffs. And it's called game theory.
Okay, so to really get our heads around those situations, we've got to start with the fundamentals. What exactly is this science of strategy? You know, at its heart, game theory is really a toolkit. It's for any situation where your best possible move depends entirely on what the other players are going to do. And don't just think about business or chess. This applies anytime our fates are intertwined.
Now, the whole point of using game theory isn't just to play. It's to find a stable outcome. We call this a Nash Equilibrium, named for the mathematician John Nash. Basically, it's a point in the game where no one can do any better by just changing their own strategy. Everyone's making the best move they can, given what everyone else is doing. And to really see this in action, let's dive into two classic games. They both get right at the tension between our own self-interest and what could be a mutual benefit. And they both come down to one single powerful idea: trust. First up, you've got the most famous game of all, the prisoner's dilemma. It just perfectly explains why cooperation can be so difficult, even when it would make everyone better off in the end. It's a real paradox of rational thinking.
So just look at the trap here from player A's perspective. Let's say player B cooperates. Well, your best move is to betray them. You get 1 year instead of 3. Now, what if player B betrays you? Well, your best move is still to betray them. You get 2 years instead of 5. No matter what they do, betrayal is your dominant strategy. And since player B is thinking the exact same way, you both betray. And you both end up worse off than if you just trusted each other.
And believe me, this is not just some theoretical puzzle. The Cold War arms race was a terrifying, real-life prisoner's dilemma. The US and the USSR were the two players, and arming was the dominant strategy for both. This led to a stable but incredibly expensive and dangerous Nash Equilibrium where both sides just kept building weapons. But, you know, not all games push us toward betrayal. The Stag Hunt, which was inspired by the philosopher Rousseau, it models a totally different kind of problem. In this game, the biggest prize requires everyone to work together. But here's the catch. If you go for that big prize and your partner doesn't, you get nothing at all. So this is the key difference in what's motivating the players. The prisoner's dilemma, that's driven by the temptation to double-cross your partner for a slightly better personal outcome. The Stag Hunt, though, that's all about the fear that your partner won't cooperate, leaving you high and dry. It's basically greed versus the need for assurance. All right, so we've seen what happens when trust is on the line. But what about when players are in direct conflict, when their desires clash right from the very beginning?
This is the ultimate game of brinkmanship. I mean, you've seen this in a dozen movies, right? Two cars speeding toward each other. The winner is the one who doesn't swerve. But if neither of you swerves, it's a total catastrophe. Each player is trying to look more resolute, more willing to risk it all just to force the other one to back down. And this exact scenario played out on the world stage. The Cuban Missile Crisis was a horrifying game of nuclear chicken. Both the US and the Soviet Union were signaling their absolute willingness to go to war, each one hoping the other would be the one to swerve. It was a standoff on a razor's edge. Now, on a much less dangerous note, we have the Battle of the Sexes. And this is a game I bet you have played 1,000 times without even knowing it had a name. You and a friend, you both want to hang out, but you want to go to a movie and they want to go to a concert. You both agree that doing something together is way better than doing something alone, but you just can't agree on what to do.
Want to see a perfect business example? Look no further than the format war between Blu-ray and HD DVD. Every single company involved knew that having one single unified standard will be best for the whole industry and for customers. But the Sony-led group wanted Blu-ray to win, and the Toshiba-led group wanted HD DVD. The whole fight was over which standard, which equilibrium to coordinate on.
Okay, so now that we can start to recognize these fundamental games playing out all around us, we get to the most important question of all. How do you play them to win?
Well, top strategists, they use a pretty clear framework. First, and this is crucial, you have to identify the game you're actually in. Is it about trust? Is it conflict? Coordination? Once you know that, you can start to work to change the rules themselves, maybe by building trust or making really credible commitments. And the final piece of the puzzle is to think multiple moves ahead, to anticipate how your rivals are going to react to your strategy.
And why does mastering all this really matter? Because the costs of getting it wrong are just enormous. During the Cold War, that giant global prisoner's dilemma, the arms race was costing the United States up to 10% of its entire GDP. This isn't just some academic exercise. The consequences are massive and very, very real.
And this is where it all comes together. This is how identifying the game gives you a playbook. If you want to escape a prisoner's dilemma, you've got to build trust for the long haul. To win a stag hunt, you have to reduce the risk for other people. In a game of chicken, a great strategy is to give your opponent a face-saving way out. And to resolve a battle of the sexes, you find a common focal point to rally around.
The thing is, once you learn the language of game theory, you start seeing these dynamics everywhere. In your career, in negotiations, even in your own family. And once you can actually name the game you're in, you're already one giant step closer to playing it well. So take a look around. What game are you playing right now?